Welcome along, my aspiring allies, and thank you for joining me on this most recent episode of the Speaking of Inclusion podcast. Today, I am joined by Ryan Root, and Ryan is the co founder of Hormones for Me, Wellness and Longevity, and is also the host of his own podcast, The Dope Martian. Now, Ryan and I had a fantastic conversation today all about his work when it comes to hormone optimization. And he has got an incredibly unique story that brought him into that space, and it is best for me to not share any of that, and he can retell it in his own incredible words. But know that it is an absolutely powerful testament about the resilience and redemption and, I guess, relentless pursuit of purpose that one person can have. Brian has absolute, I think, 100% entrepreneur energy. And you can hear all about that when it comes to his own personal story. But we did talk about an awful lot of topics, not just around hormones and hormone optimization, but also around the way in which we make mistakes as leaders. We have to own up to the things that we have got wrong, how we hold and own those stories, and the way in which we each show up as authentically ourselves, and the work in which we do that drives our purpose and meaning in our life. Now, Ryan has got a wealth of information as well when it comes to understanding dopamine and addiction and the things that drive us as humans. So, quite frankly, this was a fascinating conversation, and I'm trying really hard not to give you any spoilers in this introduction, because he really does have a story that you won't want to miss. So, without further ado, you know the drill. Please sit back, relax, and get comfortable in whichever way works best for you. And please welcome Ryan Root to the Speaking of Inclusion podcast. Yeah, no, let's do it. Let's get cracking. So how, currently, so you run this amazing business. Okay, so isn't it supplying kind of hormones in, and I'm sure you'll give us all the correct terminology in the lay of that.
Mhm.
But you didn't just fall into that by accident, right?
Yeah, that's correct. We have I do own a hormone replacement therapy company, one of the fastest growing and larger hormone replacement therapy companies in the United States. Yeah, and I didn't just fall into it. So I guess I can start my story.
Mhm.
I I had low testosterone my whole life. I now know I had low testosterone my whole life. When when I was younger, knowing what I know now, I can look back and say, oh my gosh, I had all the symptoms of low testosterone. When I was younger, I was at 13, I was picked on for being skinny, for being so skinny. So at that time, I didn't want to be the skinny kid, so I started lifting weights, and I never looked back from that. However, I would put in more effort than the rest of my peers. I worked out twice as hard, and I'd get half the results. I was also fatigued and lethargic all the time. I lacked confidence. Um, you know, Consequently, I wasn't super well respected. I was depressed. I even had adults that would say that I'm a lazy piece of crap because I had to come home and take
Wow.
naps every day. And I wasn't super ambitious or motivated. So when I was in my early 20s, my doctor wouldn't help me. I even mentioned testosterone, and they said, No, there's no way somebody in their 20s could have low testosterone. We're not even going to test you." Right? They wouldn't even look into it. And that's a big, what this sets the stage for is understanding that the big demonization, stigmatization, and ignorance behind hormones, right? So what we learned is that there's a fundamental foundational problem with the education of providers regarding hormones. They just don't learn about it in medical school. It is not in their curriculum, and this is worldwide too. This is not just a United States issue. The medical communities, what you learn when you really dive into this is the medical communities tend to share information. So I'll give you an example. The Women's Health Initiative of 2002 systematically and unilaterally reduced worldwide hormone replacement therapy for females by 50%. And that was immediately, just the immediate. Over time, in aggregate, because no new females were getting new females into menopause were not getting hormone replacement therapy. So in the aggregate, it was more like 90% after 20
Yeah.
years, like 90% reduction in hormone replacement therapy from one bad study,
Yeah.
right? And and that was just promulgated worldwide, right? So the entire world is just ignorant to these hormones. They're demonized. They don't learn about them in medical school. So this is where I was. Now I'm in my early 20s. I'm like, I don't know much about it, but I just, you know, want to look into my testosterone.
Mm.
And again, I had to work out so hard to put on a very minimal amount of muscle mass. Like, like in my head, like I identified as like a bodybuilder or some of the, I worked out so hard and I just couldn't really put on much muscle mass. And I'll get into this, but I don't want people to think that hormone replacement, especially testosterone, is only for muscle mass. It has so many
Yeah.
other benefits. At the time, that's kind of one of the things that I was interested in. Again, I worked out so hard. And I didn't mature the same as my peers. Like I said, I was a people pleaser because I wasn't well respected and I didn't have any motivation. So at 23, when I took testosterone, it dramatically improved my quality of life to the point where I had two completely different lives. I lived two different worlds. Like I suddenly put on, and for anybody who understands the gym, they'll understand this, but I put on 32 pounds of muscle and 100 pounds on my bench press in 5 weeks.
Jeez.
Like that, and for anybody who knows, that's just an incredible hyper response, right? And it's kind of a testament to how low my testosterone was, and again, I don't want people to think it's just about muscle building because as I'm going to go into, so many other benefits were there. But what I do want to highlight is now I'm confident, right? Now I look like my work ethic. Now I have energy. It turns out I wasn't a lazy piece of crap. I actually was very motivated and very ambitious. I just needed the correct amount of testosterone.
Yeah, and just on that, right? Because
Mhm.
when I heard that, all I could think about is how damaging is it to tell a young person they're a lazy piece of crap?
Yeah,
Like that is a
from
label.
adults
Yeah,
were telling me
that'll
that.
stick, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
Yeah,
I just thought that was it. I was like, oh, I guess I just can't do this life thing very well. Like,
yeah,
it turns out that I have a lot of ambition and motivation and I work hard. I just needed the right amount of hormones.
yeah. And it's interesting just as a parallel, so not related, but as a parallel in that conversations around people with ADHD getting labels like, oh, you're just
Mhm.
lazy, you can't because you're
Yeah,
trying to navigate a world that isn't built for you, right?
yeah, or
And
yeah, or they probably get called stupid or something like that, right? It's
yeah,
like,
right.
no, you just have this, and if
It's
you
just
learn how to work around that
yeah.
issue, then
Yeah.
a lot of
And that for me really stood out. I'm like, actually, the words are so powerful, especially when we're younger and we're still figuring out who we are and how
yeah.
we are. Like that lands. And one thing that also stood out for me is like there was something in you that you knew your body enough to recognize, like, well, something's off kilter. Because I also don't know many 20-year-olds or people in their early 20s who would be that exploratory,
Mhm.
who wouldn't know to push back against the label or if your GP turns around and says, nah, mate, nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
To kind of, you obviously knew your body, right?
Yeah.
You knew in yourself
Or,
something was
or I
not
knew I
right.
wasn't like everybody else, right? Like, and that was the main thing. Like, I didn't mature like my friends. I may not even mention this, but I didn't grow any facial hair until I started taking testosterone. Like, I knew I wasn't maturing like my friends. Like, it was, I just knew there was something going on. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're right. Like, another big part of the problem is that it's inculcated in our head to trust your doctor. You put your doctor in these pedestals and like they're gods. And to be honest with you, I did a podcast on our Dope Martian podcast with a provider, and we actually talked about they're taught that they are elite and they are the top in the world, and that nobody should question them. So they have that hubris, right? It's that hubris causes problems too. When as a patient, when you say, no, this isn't right, I feel this way, and they go, their attitude in their own heads is, I'm a doctor. Everything is fine with you. You're not, there's nothing wrong. This is and this is almost in your head type of thing. And people know, like, no, there's something wrong. There's something not right.
But that is a hugely important point, and I would say there's a direct parallel there with people in leadership positions as well, which is like you have your own learning, right? And if
Mhm.
and it's almost as if like, oh, you're presenting me with something that exists outside of my understanding, learning, or comprehension of something. That can't possibly be true because I can't see what's wrong with you, therefore there's nothing wrong with you.
It's
Like,
the hubris, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're taught that hubris, and that's the insidious thing about it, right? Like at least if you're taught, hey, listen to people, like, try to figure out everybody's unique, right? And part of the problem with the worldwide medical communities is they're taught this templated approach, right? It's just if this, then do this, and that's it, right? There, and it doesn't leave room for the incredible individuality, right? The incredible differences in genetic predispositions, right? There's just no room for that.
Yeah. So you're 23, you sourced your own testosterone.
Yes, I did. And
Yeah.
I had to get it from the black market because no provider was ever going to provide it for me legitimately. And that's another thing too. So like the government's unwittingly, or whether it's wittingly or unwittingly, right? They with this overregulation of something that really does help people and people really want, they create these fuel these black markets, right? So they created this black market, and I used it to get my testosterone, and I dramatically improved my quality of life. Like I said, a different world. So like now I would like just to give you an idea of what how it changes your life, and it's not even just a sense of energy. I mean, people can't understand. It's hard to understand the the leap from like out of depression, right? And just this ambition. Like now I want to do the things necessary to make my life better, and I want
Mm-hmm.
to put my head down and work instead of just be walking around during the day dreaming about laying on my couch, right? Like that's what it is in a fatigued, lethargic state. And so, taking this testosterone again dramatically improved my quality of life. I started. So what I did right then is I've always been a science guy. So I happened to be in college at the time for biochemistry. So I started tailoring my degree to the study of these hormones. I had to learn, and I also read voraciously. Like I couldn't put the information down. I had to learn what is going on here. Why is this helping me so much? And most of all, why is nobody talking about this?
Mm-hmm.
So and why most kids my age were coming home and playing video games. I couldn't wait to come home from class and study and read about hormones. And I just couldn't put the information down. So I got pretty good at it, and I started to understand, what was going on. And I started like, doing different things with myself and learning things. And then like people would come to me. And like I said, I want to express like what also happened. So especially like, and again, I don't want to say it's all about muscle mass, but when people look better, when you exude a certain confidence that testosterone provides, you're perceived differently in society, right? So now I would walk into a bar and heads would turn, right? Like I would move through the bar and people would part out of my way instead of like, people suddenly wanted to befriend me, right? Like now everybody just wanted to be my friend. And it was like, and I was immediately given respect where I didn't really have respect for many people, prior to that. I and during college I worked as a plumber. My summer job was a plumber, and I hated it. I was terrible at it. I only did it because I needed a job in the summer, and it was just awful. I wasn't going to be a plumber, and I cared nothing about the job. But after I started taking testosterone, my boss suddenly just gave me a raise for no better reason than that I stood there before him looking stout, right? Like society views you differently when you look apart, when you look an
Right.
alpha type apart, right? So I was just treated differently, and my world, like that's what I mean when my whole world changed.
Yeah.
So and out of depression too. Like I was depressed before that. I was probably thinking thoughts that kids my age shouldn't be thinking, and it totally brought me out of that. And so now fast forward just a little bit, people I would ask me like I've seen you over the last year or so make a dramatic change. Like how did you do that? "Oh, well, let me show you." So I started helping other people, and when I helped other people and they showed me the respect and admiration and gratitude, like that drove a dose response: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, right? So now I get this, it makes me feel good to watch myself help other people. I finally start to find a niche. Like I help more and more people. I finally found out what I can do in this world, like where I can fit in, right? I'm better
Yeah.
at this than just about anybody I know. And I'm really helping people. So that passion is just another word for extended dopamine response, right? So my dopamine's high, and I just drove this passion. So now
Hmm.
I'm just working all that much harder on this. I start helping more and more people, and pretty soon I get a name in my small city for if you want to look and feel your best, here's the guy to come to. So, but it was still a small city, and I didn't make much money. I was only a lab tech at the time. I worked in a hospital. Um, I was a lab tech. I didn't make much money. I made like $270 a week. What is that in pounds? Or
Well, maybe
um,
half that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah. So I mean, it wasn't much, right? And I could not afford to live. The only reason I was able to not be homeless is because I lived in my grandmother's house. I didn't have to pay rent or anything. So and I did so at some point when I started helping people with this testosterone and derivatives, other derivatives of testosterone, I started to realize I have to monetize this, right? Because it is
Mm.
taking a lot of time and it is some work. And I nailed down some supply chains and I found sources to get it for people. And I made a little bit of money, but not much. Like I still really couldn't afford to live. So one day, one of my clients told me, "Hey, there's this website online, and there's people selling this stuff like you are, although you have much more knowledge than these people. Like you actually help people understand how to use it, and your prices are probably better than theirs. So you should check this out. I think you could do well in there." So naturally, I went home and I got on this website and I started researching. I'm like, geez, I could do this. I can undercut all these people. The advice coming from a lot of these people just isn't great, and the customer service is bad. So it was an arduous process. I had to take a lot of steps. I had to make my own website, and I didn't know how to do that. So I actually had to get help doing that, and I had to do all these steps. And it was an arduous process, but eventually I became an official source on this. And it turns out it was the largest source forum in the world.
Wow.
So I became an official source, but there's still like 500 to 1,000 other sources. So nothing distinguishes me, right? So at first I was like, like when I started this thing. Well, at first I was like, people berate you at first because how dare somebody with no name try to sell me one of these products? It's like, you know, there back in the days, it doesn't happen so much anymore, but back in the days, there's a lot of scamming, right? Like people would just
Hmm.
sell people just fake products, right? And that's what a lot of people were concerned with. So if you have no name, like people actually get angry that you try to sell to them. So anyways, so after like when I started this, right, I all I had was a duffel bag full of this testosterone and some derivatives and a laptop, and I was just like, I was hoping that I could make 200 or 300 extra dollars a week, right, and then I could help some people too. Like I really believed that I was better at this than most others.
Just in hearing you say that, right? That what I'm hearing you describe though is any entrepreneur I've ever spoken to, like that's the start of an entrepreneurial journey, right? It's
Yeah,
just a need, a desire to help something.
yeah,
You've seen a way to do it. You don't know what the fuck you're doing, quite
yeah.
frankly, but you're having a go,
Yeah. No,
right?
that's exactly right. And you start to learn too, like especially when you read about business and reading some of our the world's most successful entrepreneurs, you read just that, right? Is the goal is never to make money. It's not simply to make money. Your goal, you should focus on helping the most amount of people in the most meaningful way. And as long as
Mm-hmm.
you focus on that, like it will eventually translate into wealth. Like, but people who are focused on making money don't usually make much money because
Mm-hmm.
cr- the what translates into wealth is creating value for yourself, right? As
Mm-hmm.
long as you're a valuable person, then that eventually will translate into wealth. So yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And that was the goal. I've done a lot of podcasts and I've taken some hits when I focus too much on talking about, well, it's about helping people. And it really was. And there's a point here when I'll show that I almost quit because I got scared. But I but it was the helping people that really drove me forward.
Yeah.
Now, and I don't want to say that the money wasn't nice, and so I'll tell you what happened here. But and I don't want to say that in the very beginning, like I did need to make some more money. I didn't know what else to do, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um and but always the passion is driven by helping people. Like I did this for like 10 years without hardly making any money, but I was happy to help people and you know. So I was hoping to make 200 or 300 extra dollars a week, right? I would be a little bit more comfortable then. And I thought that was overzealous. I didn't think that would happen, especially when I first started. Like nobody wanted a part of using me to you know im- get their hormones. So I really thought that was overzealous. Well, I just started to institute some pretty simple business practices that no other steroid dealers are not masters of business administration. So
Yeah, just on that. So what's the difference for people? Because in my head, right, there might be people going like, this guy's literally wandering around with a duffel bag full of drugs
yeah,
and dishing it out. So what's the difference between steroids and testosterone and like all of like that
yeah.
stuff?
So that's a great question,
Because
and
we're all
that's
going to
why
be
I
judgy,
actually use
right?
the term. That's why I use the term testosterone and its derivatives, right? Because steroids have a negative connotation, but all it is a class of drug, right? It's not. It doesn't. The negative connotation just comes from the media, like saying, "Oh,
Right.
steroids bad." Um, it like prednisone is a steroid, right? You know, there's it's just a class of a type of compound, like a chemical
Yeah.
structure, right? And testosterone is a steroid. It's an anabolic steroid. And the term anabolic steroid has worse, but it's just a class of drug. It's just a scientific classing of a drug. Anabolic means it is muscle building, which is very beneficial. Like mu building muscle reverses metabolic disorder, it reverses diabetes, it improves metabolism, like reduces fat. Like building muscle is one of the most important things that we can do. But the media, the government, like in the United States, and you're not allowed to do this in the UK or Europe either. We're not allowed to prescribe testosterone to build muscle for aesthetic appearance. When the beauty industry is an $800 billion a year industry. Like people do all kinds of things. They cut
I was
themselves
going to
open,
say, so
do
I
stuff
watched
to their
Selling
face.
Sunset. Yeah, they had like salmon sperm injected into their
Yeah,
face. Like that's okay.
right. That right, exactly, and
That's
that's fine.
weird.
Like all kinds of like surgeries are fine, but putting more of a natural hormone in your body is
Yeah.
taboo, and it's
Because we all have testosterone in our bodies already
we
to
already
some
have to.
extent, right? Like our
Yeah, that's
body makes
exactly
it.
right. It's the only controlled substance in the United States that's naturally found in your body.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it shouldn't be controlled, right? So and there's unequivocally no doubt about it. And once again, I want to um just really tell people that it's not all about the muscle building, but the muscle building is an aspect. It does make you look better. It does recomp your body. It does allow you to reduce fat. Again, reverse metabolic disorder, reverse diabetes. I've seen it get people off of blood pressure medications, off of cholesterol medications, off of depression medications because it's dopaminergic and it gives you a good sense of well-being. I've seen it get people off of pain medications because it's systemically anti-inflammatory. It reduces pain. I've seen it get yeah, depression medications, SSRIs, all kinds of things, right? It like thousands and thousands of people. Like I've personally seen this one. I've read about hundreds of thousands of more people who are able to live healthier lives because of this, right? So, um, so testosterone is a steroid, right? All the derivatives of testosterone, nandrolone, some of the things that people call anabolic steroids, right? That again, it has a negative connotation. That name is just driven by
Mm.
the media, right? It's just
Yeah.
anabolic steroids are dangerous. They're not,
Well,
right?
because I can imagine like a lot of people might be similar to me, which is you say that word and immediately I'm like meatheads in the gym,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
one image, and
Yeah.
actually what we're saying is no, everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, yeah. So testosterone is an anabolic steroid.
Yeah.
Right? It is. So, I try not to use that term because it's just the
Yeah.
word denotes just a negative connotation, and that's why I try not to use it. But testosterone is an anabolic steroid, but it's also a fundamental foundational hormone that every living organism needs. There's testosterone and estrogen in male and female plants. That's another thing. The the one of the biggest bouts of misinformation in medical history is stating that testosterone is a male hormone and estrogen is a female hormone. It's just ridiculous. They're living organism foundational compounds, right? There's testosterone and estrogen in plant and male and female plants, right? Like females need testosterone. It's the most dominant sex steroid they have. You have significantly higher testosterone than you have estrogen, right? And people don't. It's just that's not taught, right?
Yeah.
To we For female HRT, we give our female HRT clients testosterone. It dramatically improves quality of life, just like it does for men. Right? I mean, obviously, you just give them different amounts, but it's just as effective.
And yeah, and I guess that's probably the caveat, right? Is that we're not recommending people just go out willy-nilly and start, which is
Right?
what you're
Yeah.
going to come on to, I'm sure. Is like,
Yeah. Right.
you just go out and
It's
start like you're sourcing yourself,
yeah.
but do your homework.
Another yeah, and another reason the medical community that hasn't taken to it is because it's complex. It is. It's difficult and it's nuanced. And it took, I've been doing this for over 20 years, every single day. But that's another thing. So like, well, and I'll get to this later too, about what sets me apart is again, the medical community doesn't learn about this in medical school. They don't learn about hormones. It's not in their curriculum. So they don't learn anything about it. The little tiny information they do learn is antiquated notions and dogma from decades ago, right? And they study a broad range of topics when you go to medical school. I have studied solely this field for
Mm.
over 20 years, only this field, and I have more experience than just about anybody in the world because of my u unique history, right? Like I've successfully got over 20,000 people through the use of hormones. No doctor in the world, no provider, nobody can say that. All right, I've just seen it on a more vast level. So let's get to why.
And,
I
and that
haven't
and
even
that's the
gotten
point there, right? Just a caveat that, like, so in the UK we use the term GP, general practitioner. Like that is one person who is literally supposed to know everything about everything under the
yeah,
sun when we turn up with all of our ailments, right? And it
that's
is
right.
unrealistic to
That's right.
expect a GP to just know everything,
That's right.
right?
That's right. And they
Even though we
specifically
do.
don't learn about testosterone. Like I have a consulting part of my business too, and I consult a lot of people in Europe, like all over Europe. So I understand the medical communities over in Europe as well,
Mm.
and it's as bad, if not worse, sometimes than it is in the United States. Right? Okay, so
Okay. Yeah. So
I
you're in what? You're in your 20s.
yeah yeah I oh yeah so and I finally did this online thing. Well, after instituting a few simple good business practices, like again, I was hoping to make 200 or 300 extra dollars a week. Within 6 months, the business blew up. It absolutely blew up. In 6 months, I was making $21,000 a week, and
Yeah,
then
it's
it
quite a
just
lot of
got
money.
it got bigger from there. Then it went to 30, then 50, then 100,000 a week. Then there was a few weeks where I made a $500,000, and I had to. It was complex. Like I had to build this huge operation, right? And I went from just doing it myself to being like, and what I wanted to say is so there was a point when I had $100,000 cash in my hand at my house, and I got scared. I like started to panic. I'm like, this got way too big. I didn't expect this. I'm gonna get caught. I have to stop this. So I actually made a plan to stop. I was like, okay, I had like 1,000 patients or clients at the time. I said, I'm gonna tell all my clients I can't do this anymore. This just got too much. And I'm just gonna quit. And I was like, I'm gonna fill the orders for people who paid. Obviously, I'm not a thief. I would never steal from anybody. So I'm like, I'm gonna fill the orders of people who've already paid, and I'm just not gonna take any new orders. And then, like, I remember I was like having like I'm not a man prone to panic attacks, but if I have ever had one, it was at this time. And I remember I had my hand in my head and my bed and my head in my hands, and I was like, and then just memes and social media started flashing through my head. When you go and you say, take a chance, you may never, risk is what ultimately creates success, taking
Take your
risks and
leap
this
of
and
faith.
that.
Yeah.
All these memes started going through my head, and I'm like, well, everybody's telling me I got to take chances, and then I was like, I thought about having to go to the 1,000 clients that I have and telling them, I know your life is true because I used to get emails every single day. I still do. I get emails every day. Thank you for making me a better father or mother to my child. Thank you for making me a better husband or wife to my spouse, and thank you for making me a better provider to my family. Right? Because these are the things that testosterone does. Gets you up, gives you energy to play with your kids. Gives you, makes you just a better person to be around, and gives you the confidence and the drive, the motivation to do better for your family, right? To support your family. And I still get emails for that. So when I thought about having to go to all these people who had thanked me and telling them, I can't help you dramatically improve your quality of life anymore just because I'm having a little bit of anxiety right now. Right. And I just couldn't think of doing that. I couldn't bring myself to do that. So
Yeah.
instead at that time I just did the opposite. I said, screw this. I can do this. And I just put my head down and I made the operation bigger and I pushed through and then that's when it started to grow and grow. At one point I was rated the third most popular uh well, we'll say testosterone and derivatives dealer in the entire world, in the entire
Yeah.
world. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Um, so in 2015, I was indicted. I knew that day, and there's a point when you know that day's coming.
I mean, I was going to say, there's got when you were saying you were getting bigger and bigger, and then your
Yeah,
third largest testosterone and
yeah,
progesterone
hmm
dealer, like you know that you're doing this and it's not legal, like
yes, I did
because
know. I was aware
you
of that.
did that with full knowledge.
Full knowledge. Yes,
So yeah, that you must have had an inkling that to get that
yeah,
big, someone's going to clock you.
yeah. It
Yeah.
just got too big. There's no way. I mean, you can just put it out of your head and you can
Yeah.
rationalize and ultimately I knew.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, because clearly you're smart enough to get yourself into that position so
yeah,
that you can't have just been like, whoop doo doo,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is nice,
I think this is all okay. No.
Yeah.
It's like it shows you. So like, what I've tried to do in the past too is try to help people get inside of the mindset of
Mm,
of someone who's doing something like that. Because one of the first things one of the first things people say is is like, why did you do that? It was stupid, right? And I mean, I well, so the context is important, right? Like I said, I was barely able to support myself. Um, I actually I had addiction. I have I'm an addict, so I had addiction issues when I was younger. So I was consequently like I wasn't able to really do anything with my life, right? So there was depression from that. There was I I was addiction. I had a few DWIs, driving while intoxicated. So I had a felony. I already had a felony on my record. And that makes it really hard to get a job. So that's why I was just working for minimum wage. Like so I was already just there's nothing there's a point when there's nothing left to lose, right? I
yeah.
had known poverty and struggle my whole life and there was so I mean, yeah, if I was in medical school and going to become a doctor and possibly make, a lot of money and be really successful, right? It would have been stupid and I wouldn't have done it. But
Yeah.
but my context, like I was already in trouble with the legal system. I didn't see any way out. So it's like, doing this, it's like either this or go back to poverty, right? Like,
Yeah. Like, would it be fair? Because kind of what I'm hearing there as well is like in a different in a different context or in a different life, you could have been like, you know, born into a position, let's say, where you could have put yourself through medical school, you would have become, was
yeah,
it an endocrinologist?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and because that could have been a path you chose because you experienced something yourself and you could have
that's
channeled it
correct.
differently.
Right. Yeah, you're
But those
absolutely right.
options weren't open to you.
A few different decisions could have sent it the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
Because I
absolutely correct.
think
I mean,
like it's really easy, I think, for people to like you say, sit in a position of judgment or just be like, well, that was really stupid.
right.
Why would you do
That
it? And it's
that
like,
was
yeah,
stupid. Or I get a lot. You're just got greedy because people want to understand and they want to wrap something up in a nice bow so they can throw it away and say, oh. So I get it wrapped up in the greed, that greed, like, nice little easy greed box. Oh, you got greedy. Yeah, okay, good. I understand that now. But it's not that simple. Like what I also want to impress is the dopaminergic, the passion, right? The dopaminergic. Like I really was helping these people. And again, and and I got emails every single day. And that drives this passion. Like I had this, I had like I said, over over the over the like 5 years this thing lasted. And I was doing it for, now I've been doing it for over 20 years. Like at this time I had been doing this for 15 years. And like I said, I had successfully got over 20,000 people. I had 20,000 people who really respected and admired me. And that dopaminergic feel or that dose response just drives this passion and like addiction to to still being able to command that kind of respect and command the ability to help that many people. I found my place. I found my niche. I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And so I want everybody to take that away too. Like that's a huge part of why you ignore the fact that you know that there's no way I can keep this under wraps. Like it's just too big. Like how do you just anonymously collecting millions and millions of dollars a year?
Yeah.
It's just like it's not like it's not sustainable. Like
I mean,
something's
soon
gonna
your
happen.
pillowcase is too big and you can't keep it there anymore, you know?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But I think that is a really important, that's why and again, this, I mean, that's what this podcast is about. It's about not sitting in judgment. It's about understanding, hearing,
Yeah.
learning, right? And I can also imagine that you know, people don't start shoplifting just because they get up one day and think, oh, fancy a new lipstick and I can't be asked to pay for it. Usually there's like a driver that drives you somewhere.
Hmm.
And if you had different options, you would do different things.
Yeah.
You know, and there was another thought that I had, but of course I have a menopausal brain, which we'll talk about a bit in a minute, and that's completely gone. And because I didn't write it down, it may never return. So I'll wait for that. It'll pop back later. But yeah, so please continue.
Estradiol, we'll get you. Estradiol is a like I'll guide you through. I'm really good with women too. I've guided thousands and thousands of women
Oh
through
yeah, that was
HRT.
it. Sorry, it's come
Yeah,
back. Fucking
go
hell.
ahead.
Right. So I was thinking anybody as well who's ever worked in the charity space or in the charity
Mhm.
sector or done any sort of volunteer work, right? That thing that you were saying about the dopamine piece, like people
Mhm.
might get into that work because they, you know, they're driven by I want to help, I want to give back. But when you start doing it and you really
Mhm.
get that sense of what it is like to make a difference
Yeah,
directly to other people, a
yeah,
lot of people then will never leave the charity sector, even though
no,
they could earn more money other places, because they're addicted to the help.
yeah.
And that's
So
what I'm hearing here. It's like
yeah,
I want to do this thing because it drives my purpose.
that's exactly right. So I studied a lot of neurobiology because I'm fascinated by human behavior. So I studied a lot of that too. And the dose response, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, it's the most pervasive driver of human behavior.
Mm,
And we're supposed to be those are neurotransmitters that are produced during specific times when you do something to help yourself survive or the survival of your species. And you're supposed to be addicted to those neurotransmitters. You're supposed to be. If they're produced in the times when you do something for your own survival, like eating food will do it, right? You eat food, you
mm.
survive, you produce these neurotransmitters. That's why people are addicted to food.
Like cake makes me happy.
Yeah, sex is another big driver. This is why people are addicted to sex, right? Like, and again, addicted is kind of it has a negative connotation too. We're supposed to be addicted. It's supposed to be addicted to doing the things that help the survival
Mm,
of ourselves or our species, right? That's we're supposed to be.
makes sense.
And and it's not a bad thing unless you focus only on one dose response. So if you focus solely on sex for your all your dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, then that becomes negative, right? It's important to have a diverse portfolio of all these dose responses, and then it's positive, right? Just getting a little bit of dose from every different like little, interaction. So we also evolved to be social. Our species evolved to be social, right? So you get a dose response whenever you connect with another human being, especially when you help them. There's a major positive reinforcing dose response. You get a dose response when you help people. The person you helped gets a dose response. Then that person, you get dose responses from the subtle social cues that they are showing you respect, admiration, and gratitude. Just the little facial, just recognition, just that little when they see you in the morning and they go and they give you a wave, that's a dose response.
Yeah.
And when you help somebody, they're giving you these dose responses all day long. Every time you see them, you get this little social cue of respect and admiration, and that's a dose response. When you do that, when you help a whole bunch of people, you're getting these dose responses from all over the places, and it feels good. It's what pulls
Yeah.
us out of depression, right? So, and you're supposed to be addicted to those things. So just like what you said, charity, when you actually are helping people and you can see the change and you can see those subtle social cues, it's just dose responses everywhere, and you're supposed to be addicted to that. I mean, being addicted to helping people is not a bad thing,
Right.
right?
So you've got an addiction to 20,000 people telling you we love you because you've made
Yeah,
my life better, and you're like, okay, this is
yeah.
too significant to
I
walk
don't
away
want to
from.
leave this, even if it
Yeah.
means
Even though
possible
I know
prison
what's
time.
coming down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that time came, 2015. I was indicted by Operation Cyber Juice. I was sitting in my,
Sorry, but I love that it's called cyber juice. I mean,
yeah, Operation Cyber Juice. That's what they called it. Yeah. They were specifically going after these. online
That's just
steroid
sorry,
dealers.
but that's smacks of 5-year-old
Yeah,
boy naming tactics. Sorry.
yeah. So I was sitting in my penthouse overlooking Manhattan, and I uh I get a knock on my door and at like 5 in the morning, and I actually went out there. I was angry. I was like, "Who's knocking on my door at 5 in the morning? I'm gonna go tell this person not to pound on my door." I swing the door open, and it's 15 DEA agents with guns pointed at my head. And I'm nonviolent, so it was like pretty quickly there. I was like, okay, relax, you got me. But they come in and arrest me, and then it's over, right? I got sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. While in prison, I used my time wisely. Right? So I read voraciously about business. I got a mentor, and my mentor and I wrote a business plan for to do this legally. Like he just kind of helped pull it out of me. He was like, "Well, you're passionate about these hormones. Isn't there a way we can do that legally?" And I was like, because I was actually pitching this. He's a really successful businessman, and I was pitching him other business ideas. He's like, why wouldn't you just do that? Like, we can do this legally, right? And I was like, I think we can. And then I went and researched, and sure enough, like there's a way, even with a felony, that I can do this legally. So so I was just like, I can't believe I didn't think of this before. Like, yeah, of course. Let's do this the right way, right? And so we wrote a business plan while in business, very extensively. We talked about it for a year and a half, and wrote a lot of things down. And then when I got out of prison, I executed on this business plan. He actually got out a little after me, and then but when he got out, we teamed up, and now here we go. So yeah, we own hormonesforme.com and Dope Martian, which are Hormones for Me is the hormone replacement therapy arm, and Dope Martian is the dialed in optimization products and services like genetic testing we're going to have, and products just to really help people with their health and wellness. We so what did my history do for me, right? So, and I kind of went over this before, but again, it allowed me to aggregate more empirical data than any doctor, any physician, any endocrinologist, any urologist in the entire world, just about, right? Just because of this unique history. I helped over 20,000 people. Like I looked at blood work, I saw what do these different things do to people, and nobody, just almost nobody in the world has aggregated the amount of data that I have has just gotten that kind of experience. So I'm just really good at this. Like I can, you know, I can really just dissect from a person, from talking to a person, their symptomology. I look at blood work and I can figure out how to start. And then, hormone replacement therapy is more a game of adjustments, right? Because there's no way we could know exactly how any one person is going to react. Just like you said before, everybody's so vastly different. I can have the same protocol, I can give it to 100 different people, and I'm going to get 100 different reactions. So it's more about let's start off at this moderate protocol. Let's see how you react, and then we make the adjustments depending on how you're reacting. Are you having side effects? We can mitigate those really quickly, and really looking to really dial in and optimize. Right. And I've just become one of the best at that. I've done it for so long. And we can also do it with long-term health and safety, man. I understand the safety factors. I understand how to keep people feeling their best, keep them healthy. And like I said, we get people off of blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, off of SSRIs. I see it all the time. Um, so now this becomes a story of redemption, right? Uh, you know, like I've always said, like it takes if I become more successful than most, it's only because I've failed more than most. So all these failures just building up have created the better man that I am today. And I know
Yeah.
I've finally got it, how to do this the right way, how to really not don't cut corners, don't do anything, really just take the time to really build a really solid foundation for a business, and really help people with, again, long-term health and safety in mind, with following legitimately and legally following all of the regulations.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess now as well you get to operate with that level of transparency, which is that the confidence that people can have if they want to work with you is that it literally is legit above board.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than just like the kid down the gym, like, which
Yeah.
brings its own level of
Yeah.
risk. So
That's
and
exactly it.
yeah, there's the confidence there that people can bring with it. But again, like you say there, another huge leadership lesson in the sense of life is also about our failures and what we do with them, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's not like just like, well, shit, that didn't work, give up. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that didn't work, but and having people in your corner to say to you, hang on a minute, right?
Mhm.
This is clearly the thing. If we were going to talk about a calling, like you were called to
Yeah.
do it,
Yeah.
even if you did go about it in a way that is probably not recommended.
Yeah.
um that you know you found your path,
Mhm.
and yes, you failed, but then you turned that failure into a thing.
Mhm.
and and honestly, a lot of life is about, well, what did I learn from that? Like you said, what did it do for me?
Yeah. Yeah. And like we should like when I was younger, and a lot of people, you see this all over, right? Like failure is painful, right? It hurts to fail. And when we fail, like I remember when I was younger specifically, like I hated failing so much that I made a promise to myself not to try anything new
Mm,
because I didn't want to fail. I'm going to defend against that by just not doing anything new. I'm just going to sit here and do only the things I'm comfortable with and maintain this quo. And my status at the time was an addict who couldn't make it in life, right? And so but I was like, I'd rather do that than fail. What I
mm,
think like needs to be done as a society is celebrate those failures. If I could go, if like here's one thing I say a lot, like if I could go back in time and change anything, ironically, I wouldn't change a single thing. I would endure all the trials and tribulations and all the pain because it made me the better person I am
mm,
today. Like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of those experiences. With that being said, if I could change something about the way we operate as a society, it would be, or the way I personally viewed these things, is celebrate those failures. Actually celebrate them. Good. There's no better teaching tool. You learned something really valuable today. And yes, it's gonna suck, and yes, it's painful, but good. You'll never do that again, and you'll actually build your life around not having that happen again. Right.
yeah.
And that's the main thing you learn. I mean, the people, some of the most successful people are some of those who have failed the most.
Absolutely. And I think to kind of piggyback on that, if I may, for my own circumstances, in that
Mhm.
I really love the role modeling that you are doing in terms of not only just owning the failures, but owning the messy history, like owning
Mhm.
all of it, not just kind of pretending that you
Mhm.
arrived here and trying to hide the journey. It's like actually fully embracing, like
Yeah.
you say, I got here, how I got here. That's
Mhm.
part of my story.
Yeah.
um you can feel however you feel about it, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And I think there is a power in that, that just to roll it into, I'm finding it unlikely that there'll be too many people that can relate directly to that,
Mhm.
but there will be people that will have made mistakes along the way, they will have done things, and
Mhm.
it's so liberating to just own it, just
Mhm.
just step in, because if you're owning it, no one else can hit you with it, right? Because you've got it.
You have nailed it right on the head. And
Yeah.
and I decided early on when I got out of prison that I was just going to embrace. And I used the exact same word you just used. I said I'm embracing this. Like you're exactly right. Had I hit it, um, and then it comes out later, like people are like, "Whoa, I didn't know this." So it's just lead with it and embrace it
Yeah.
and tell everybody, "Yes, here's what I did. Here's the mistakes I made. Here's what I learned from it, and here's why I'm a better person and I'm better at this than most people because of this failed history, right?"
Yeah.
And and you're absolutely right. It's surprisingly I didn't know how it was going to go when I started just leading with my story, right? And surprisingly, it was a little bit surprising to me. Most people are okay with it. Most people are okay with it. In fact, they want to come. They said, I want my hormones from that company because because I understand why this company would have more knowledge than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And most people act like that. But there is a small subset of the people who really believe that I should just have gotten out of prison and gotten to the fetal position in the corner and just spent the rest of my life apologizing for my massive mistakes and never gone anywhere. never done anything and gone anywhere. There's a small amount of people who think that. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
like I own those mistakes. One of the things I say is I knew what I did was wrong and I am accountable for those actions. I never said I don't believe that testosterone and its derivatives should be illegal. I think it's a massive mistake. As we've indicated here, the medical community and the government have wholeheartedly, utterly failed to adequately address hormone deficiency. They don't understand it, and they've utterly failed. Right. So we need to, as a population, we need to be able to take our health in our own hands. And these compounds cannot be stigmatized because of it. No provider is going to adequately lead you through hormone replacement therapy. So we need to be able to do it ourselves, and they shouldn't be illegal. With that being said, what I did, they were illegal, and I knew the laws and I knew the regulations, and therefore I'm accountable for those actions, and I get
Yeah.
that. And I haven't complained about going to prison. I'm accountable, and those I did my time. Um,
Yeah.
but one of the things that we're going to do in the future is fight the regulations. Um, it's one of the reasons people came to me again is because the government, again, medical communities failed to address hormone deficiency. And because of the way it is, because of the regulations, it's hard to get and it's expensive, right? Because you have to
Mhm.
pay providers. Like we have to partner with providers, and our providers actually prescribe the protocols and look everything over, and that's expensive. And people would come to me on the black market, even guys who are just using TRT. They had a prescription from their doctor, but A, their doctor doesn't know how to use it properly, and B, it's expensive. So they would come to me because it's 10 times lower cost, right? It's a tenth of the
Yeah.
cost. And if we could deschedule testosterone and allow it, and so you wouldn't have to go through all these regulations, then it would be a lot more cost effective. You could dramatically improve your life and your health with a lot lower cost.
Mhm. Yeah, I hear you. And I guess one thing I do want to say, because I'm a responsible citizen of the world and I take my podcasting seriously, is that in
Mhm.
no way do I condone anybody going out and doing anything that is currently illegal.
No.
Um, just because we're not, it's not how we roll.
Mhm.
However,
Mhm.
um, I also like acknowledge that laws are just rules that are made up,
Mhm.
right?
They're
Someone
all
made them up,
arbitrary.
right? It's
Yeah.
just it's stuff. So whilst we are bound by the laws of our lands, it's just rules that were made up by people up until the point they get challenged and someone
Hmm.
changes it, right? So laws
Yep.
are the law until they're not. And
Hmm.
that's what always fascinates me as well. When you think about like marijuana use, right?
Hmm.
Some places it's legal, some places it's illegal, because it's all just down to independent decision makers around the
And
law.
stigma.
Yeah.
Stigma plays a huge role in it, right? Like there was a time and I'm glad you brought that up because testosterone and marijuana have ridden a parallel path. And marijuana is actually just ahead of it now, but testosterone is on the same path to being more accepted, right? But if you look at, so when you look at the history of why these regulations are in place, like it's pretty ridiculous. Like, and, and so marijuana, right? Back in the 50s, there was something called reefer madness, and they actually taught that marijuana was dangerous. If you smoked it, you could die and you would go crazy. That's what the education was. So because of just that stigma, it was made in the United States, it was made a Schedule One controlled substance, which means there's no medical value, you can't research it, and it's just purely dangerous.
Right.
It that was in the 50s. It didn't states in the United States, some individual states didn't start making it legal until 2008. So it took about 60 years for the stigma just to abate enough for people to go, you know what, marijuana is not that dangerous. In fact, it
Yeah.
has medical value. It helps a lot of
Maybe we
people.
should do some research.
Yeah, maybe we should just knock it off, right? And so individual states, and now pretty soon it's going to be legal in all 50 states, and it's just ridiculous that we put people in prison for 20, 30, 40 years of life for marijuana, and now it's going to be legal in every state. Like, how ridiculous is
Yeah.
that?
And when you stack it up like that, that's what, and just a reminder for any of our listeners in the UK, it is still illegal here. And that how mad is that? That like
Yeah,
people will literally serve time away from, like, completely isolated from society for
yeah,
committing a crime that is now no longer a crime. Like
yeah. That's
I
now
and
no
I
longer
and
a
I
crime.
find that like And I think about it when just to put a like a workplace slant on it as well. The same with employment law. Like
Hmm.
employment law shifts, like it's the law until someone challenges it and then it gets
Yeah.
overturned and then it's something else. So
Hmm.
it is about you have to even though we always operate in accordance with whatever the laws are at those
Hmm.
times, it is also about really just stopping and thinking about how do we feel about these things,
Hmm.
and how are we having kind of empathy for that and not just making judgments around, well, something's illegal, therefore the person doing it must be, yeah, stupid, wrong, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, what has happened in society that has led us to this point, and can we have some compassion for the situation we find ourselves in? Because honestly, we're probably all just one, either, ignorant or knowing decision away from
Hmm.
getting ourselves in a bit of bother,
Hmm.
you know?
That's absolutely true. And I really appreciate that view.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and then actually to I'm going to plug back a previous episode of our podcast as well. Like we did an episode a couple of years ago now with a guy called Noel Moran, who we've called it Returning Citizens. So he served time in prison,
Hmm.
and now he talks about his experiences and tries to help people avoid that path. But we talk about the stigma of trying to get a job when
Hmm.
you've got a conviction and or a felony, I think you call it, don't you, in the States? But
Yeah, that's what we
yeah,
call the United
yeah,
States. Yeah.
so it's and it's really tough and it's destructive because, like you say, people in society just expect, you're going to be tarred with that brush forever.
Hmm.
And it makes it really difficult to get employment, and if you can't get employment you can't get a permanent address, and if you can't get a permanent address you're basically screwed.
And
And
so what do? You go back to doing the same thing that you know how to do. And
yeah,
so you end up doing the same thing that got you in prison in the first place because it's the only thing you can do. Like
yeah,
that's a major, that's why the rate of recidivism is so high in prisons, right? You essentially like take them out of society, take
yeah,
take their rights from them, and then hamstring them with this convicted, you know,
yeah,
prisoner status
yeah,
that makes it hard for them to do better and get better and change. And then they just end up doing the same thing and going back into
yeah.
prison again.
Yeah, this is why we've been advocating for a while on this podcast, at least around the language, around talking about people as being returning citizens or
Yeah.
prison leavers, at least, rather than ex-convicts.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, why do we have to just shackle people
Yeah.
literally to the thing
Yeah.
that they did when actually we could think about society and their future? And surely we're all better off if everybody's a contributing member of society.
That's exactly
Like,
right.
don't we all win?
And that's what in the United States, that's what prisons lack, right? Is the reason most, especially like the nonviolent, right? Like there is a subset of the population of prisons that need to be there, right? Like, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to get that twisted, but what you'd find when you go into prisons is that there's a huge subset of people that don't even need to be there. They really don't. Like, and one of the main reasons people are there and they keep going back is because they don't know what else to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so the education isn't there. Prisons should be these education camps where we teach people another way to live, right? Another way to support yourself and your family.
Yeah,
And then just like you said, now they can come out and be contributors to society and now they don't have to go back. And that's not done. The educate and then I I get this a lot. Well, there's these programs to teach people all these jobs. They're garbage. All right. The programs in prison are just there's no incentivization to even
yeah,
take them. There's no incentivization to run them properly. Like they're run by state employees who get paid if it's a flop or it doesn't
yeah.
matter. They get paid the same. So it's just like the programs in prison are garbage. Right?
Yeah. And actually I do want to give a little kind of double thumbs up to in the region where I live, at least. So our I there's a prison in the town that I live, and
Hmm.
local employers will partner with working with the prison
That's great.
to because they know that the work that is put in for people when they are within prison
Yeah.
needs to continue when you come out, because otherwise all of that support network that you
Yep.
had in that give you that confidence
Yep.
and skill, the minute you walk out the door, if that's immediately severed,
Yep.
like then again, then what? Like all the
Yep.
confidence flows out of you because you're
Yep.
back to square one. So it's about having that flow of
Yep.
system of an employer
Yep.
who's willing to say, you did your side of the bargain,
Yep.
we're going to do ours.
That's great. Yeah, and I was just speaking of the United States. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how there's probably better programs in place in Europe and the rest of the world. But like, and I don't even want to say that nothing's been done in the United States. There has been some things that have been done. It's certainly better than it was 20 or 30 years ago, or at least 20 years ago. Um, but there's a lot that needs to
Yeah.
continue.
But again, it comes back to that whole point, doesn't it, around mindset, which is how, and I guess this is where we are fortunate that I guess at least in some institutions, leaders are challenging the accepted wisdom, right? Of or how what was the purpose that prisons were set up for? What is the
Hmm.
purpose that police were set up for? Like, what is the purpose of all these
Hmm.
things? And are we just going back and revisiting that to say, okay, does that fit with who and how we are as a society
Hmm.
now? And do we have to change things? And luckily there are at least some people that are driving that, which is good.
Yeah,
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 including yourself with from your own corner of the world, challenging um I guess the laws around testosterone and its derivatives,
yeah. And it's
as I
derivatives.
have
Good.
learned.
See, good. Now you can say that, and it's not stigmatized.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm sure there's going to be people listening to this, Ryan, who are going to be like, this guy's incredible.
No.
I want to have a good old nosy and learn a bit more about him. So if people
Hmm.
want to get in touch with you, how can they do that? How can they find more about you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Our website is hormonesforme.com. Um, we're also I have an education platform across social media, so I have a lot of people from all over the world that watch our YouTube shows. We're at Hormones for Me on YouTube. We have I'm trying to remember all our social media, but and all our social media would be on that website too. So
That's cool. And we'll put a link on the show notes as well, just for those. Although I know a lot of people listen to this when they're driving, so Soz, you're going to have to remember that and go and Google it later.
oh yeah,
That's the biggest people. People are always they go on a long journey, they're going to stick the podcast on.
yeah.
Okay, and you also mentioned about Dope Martian, and I know that when you sent your information to me, what I loved is you said Dope Martian is about rebellious nature to question everything in the
Mm,
relentless pursuit of the truth and
mm,
justice. I was
yeah,
like, probably got me. I thought, yeah, we'll have a bit of that.
yeah, yeah.
So how what just explain the difference between Dope Martian and hormones for me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, hormones for me is the hormone replacement therapy, the component, right? The clinic where we can actually treat you medically for your hormones. Dope Martian is more of the idea of the rebellious nature, and we have a podcast, and we also with that will come out dialed in optimization products. But the podcast is about that rebellious nature. Like progress is a function of acting outside that box, right? You don't progress unless you do something different. And we should celebrate a lot of the rebellious nature of a lot of the entrepreneurs that seeded progress and invention, right? So it's about celebrating that. And what we're going to start doing is having guests who have done just that and talk to them about how did you change the paradigm? How did you like we used to do it this way, and because of you, things are better, things have progressed. And just get into their mindset of how they do that. And right now, a lot of it is about the medical community and hormones
Mm-hmm.
because that's our knitting. But we're
This is
going to
what
get
you
into
know,
it.
yeah.
Doesn't have to stay with that. Like in the future, and we're going to do. Interestingly enough, we're going to do people of the past. So we're going to get like, for example, I love Alexander Hamilton. I think he kind of was one of the major seeds of creating the United States. And I don't even know if he could have known what he did at the time, but his just he just wanted to fight and he just wanted to do things the way that they thought they should be done. And he's willing to give everything to do that. And that rebellious nature is just what created the United States. It's what creates again progress and so we're gonna get an expert on Alexander Hamilton and just kind of try to get in like look at all these things that he did and just kind of just start talking about how entire paradigm shift because of these of incredible people,
Yeah.
right? That lead the shifting of these paradigms. So that's it's kind of that's what Dope Martian is about, and it also again it will have dialed in optimization products for health and wellness and different services too. Like I said, we're coming out with genetic testing, a supplement line to really again make people healthier. The genetic testing will be great because we can wrap that around with blood tests and then have a really, really accurate picture with an understanding of your genetics of what will work the best for you as an individual, right? And then a lot of other services. So
That's pretty cool. So, and then next up, world domination by the sound of it.
yeah. So like we're gonna work first in the United States to actually, yeah, to form a lobby group and actually change the laws. And yeah, like I get to ask this a lot because we have a lot of people who view our YouTube channel from all around the world, but Europe especially. And a lot of people say you got to open up in Europe. Like our providers here are terrible with hormones. So yeah, eventually it will be like expansion into the rest of the world to see if we can really start helping people with a true understanding of how to dial people in with hormones.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would. So, speaking personally, I would welcome that because it took me flipping a year to get myself on HRT through our National Health Service,
Oh man.
and exactly the conversation that you were saying about when you turn up to your GP and you just told, no, no, you're probably depressed, you're probably this, that, and the other, and the difference it makes being on the
Mm.
right therapy, um, it's a game changer. So
It,
yeah.
it absolutely is. I know, and that's the unfortunate part. Like you could, my guess is you go to your GP, whoever's doing your HRT right now, and you say, "Well, I've been reading a lot about female testosterone, and females need testosterone." They'll be like, "Oh no, like we don't do that." Right? So
Yeah, they'd just be like, "Well, back away, we don't know."
yeah, we don't do that. Right?
Yeah,
And it's like it's you want to talk about another game changer for females. It's testosterone, the right level of testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. If we can find your individual, like what I like to call their Goldilocks zone, whatever's the right level for you as an individual. I mean, it's a like you said, it's a game changer, and
yeah,
you're not going to be able to find that. Like,
yeah, yeah. And to echo back to the point that you were saying, like, and again, this is for me personally, and it's different for everybody. But the anxiety that I was experiencing pre that, like, and luckily for me, I knew who I was before I slipped into
mhm.
that, so I knew something was wrong. Like
Yeah.
I knew my body, I knew my mind, I knew that this was not rational behavior for me. So I
Hmm.
could tell that there was difference. So I at least had a level of confidence going into battle for myself.
Hmm.
But I can imagine there are people that don't, and that
Yeah.
is a worry. Um, and in true, again, menopause mindedness, there was another thing I was going to say that has immediately flipped off the edge. But anyway, yeah. Oh, and the gym, yeah, and the importance of like being a woman of a certain age. And
Yeah.
I go to a women's only gym, and we are all lifting heavy, hoofing stuff about because we understand the importance of the strength of our
It's
body,
hugely important.
right?
Building muscle for men and women is hugely important. I mean, that it's what again, it's what controls your metabolism. It's what controls your, and especially like these hormones are what controls your metabolism. It controls body composition. Are you burning muscle? Are you in a catabolic state and burning your own muscle mass and proteins as a primary source of energy, or are you burning fat as a primary source of energy? And if your hormones are low, you'll be burning your own muscle mass. That's the major decline and decay you see in nursing homes. Most of it is hormone deficiency. Your body's actually eating itself. That's the hormones signal metabolism and where am I getting my energy from? Is it going to be fat stores or my own body's proteins, the actual organs and that you have. So, if we could, and I say this all the time, if we could get hormone replacement therapy into nursing homes, we would have the population in nursing homes. People would be able to get up and walk, get off their walkers. The fall risk reduces significantly, over 50% less of a fall risk, less of a fracture risk. Like it's just crazy that we're not actually implementing this. When you see the benefits, it's absolutely insane that we're not already implementing hormone replacement therapy for everybody at a certain age.
I mean, I'm here for that. Awesome stuff. So, Ryan Root, is there anything that you came to say that you have not had an opportunity to say?
Oh yeah, you know what? I had that, you know what's funny is I had that written down here.
Yeah, I know. I
And then
told you I was going to
I
ask
went
you.
back and looked at it later and I go, where is that from? I forgot.
That was me.
So here's the one thing. Yeah, it's a great question. Here's the one thing that I would say. The Every single risk factor for hormone replacement therapy for men and women has been debunked. Every single risk factor. So in the United States, they just got rid of the black box warning for females, saying that it could possibly increase the risk of cancer or blood clots because it never has. It was just one poorly run study that put that black box warning on there. Testosterone, the black box warning for possible potential increased risk in cardiovascular disease has been removed because it actually is the opposite. It's cardioprotective. Every single risk factor, there is none remaining. They've all been scientifically debunked through studies, controlled studies. So hormone replacement therapy, there's no risk. There is no risk. And I know you're going to hear that from your doctor. Well, understand the risks. There are none. And that's what's not being intimated enough. That's the new thing that's going to be coming out. It's like, well, what are the risks then? Oh, they've all been debunked. So there are no risks if you do it in therapeutic doses, right? Like, I mean, and one of the problems, right, is like we take a look at, like you said, you hear the word steroids and you think of the bodybuilding community, right? And like, but there's a massive distinction between people doing it for sport and for the love of bodybuilding and people who are doing it to feel
Mm.
better and be healthier. In therapeutic doses, there are no risks. So that's the one thing I think everybody should know. And there's no
Um,
question that at a certain age, every single person needs to be on hormone replacement therapy to remain healthy and to prolong your life.
there were two things that stood out to me saying that. Firstly, because I was like, yeah, I mean, firstly, you would say that, right? Because it's your industry. So
Mhm.
you make money from saying that.
Yeah,
But that does not mean it's not true.
that's correct. Yeah.
And it does mean that, people should do their own research. People should
Mhm.
ask, get curious and ask the questions that they
Mhm.
think that are applicable to them, and and find out for yourself. Don't just, like, say, listen to uh what's the word, like, accepted wisdom. Like, do your own
Yeah,
research, challenge
right.
things, speak up, check it
Yeah.
out.
And the problem is like if you just Google some of the stuff, you're going to see the old antiquated data coming out, right? Like, so it's like, even challenge that, right? Say, okay, well, what are, really dive deep. Like, what are the risk factors? Okay, this one's been debunked. This one's been debunked. There's no evidence that there's any increased risk of cancer. In fact, hormone replacement therapy for females reduces the risk of some forms of cancer, right? So it's like, yeah, yeah, just do your own research. And you're right. This is my industry. I do, and
I mean, it would be remiss of me not to just go,
yeah,
caveat, guy makes money
and
from it.
but understand, like, I get it, and you're right. But look at the reason I got into the industry
Yeah,
because saw all these things that nobody else was seeing, and the reason I became so passionate about it is because it's like, no, I have to get this information out there because it's all being misinformed. There's
yeah,
misinformation about it everywhere.
yeah. And likewise, it's not as if you're just kind of out there just sort of pushing something. It's like you are running a successful business because people are coming to you because you help them.
Yeah, right.
So again, it may not be the thing that everybody listening to this, it might not be for them, but there might be for some people.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's about, make your own mind up about how
Hmm.
you feel about something, have your own conversations, but no, it's working for a significant number of people. So
Hmm.
maybe if this is something that applies to you, think about it, and
Hmm.
then apply that same logic to everything else. Like, be
Yeah.
curious, think about things, challenge things,
Hmm.
and just open your mind up a little bit, because as we have learned today, you can make mistakes, you can fail,
Hmm.
and things, you can still build back, you can get stuff wrong, and it's all okay. But just be curious, and in your pursuit of further knowledge, I suppose, and just
Yeah.
doing better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan Root, thank
Mhm.
you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you along. Thank you for joining me on the Speaking of Inclusion podcast.
Mhm. Well, yeah, thank you too. Thank you for what you do. Like your content, what you do really helps people. And from me and from all of your listeners, like we thank you for doing this too.
Oh, mate, thanks. Cool. Nice one.
Okay, good.
Thank
Great.
you so much. That was awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Those are some great takes that you had there. Like, yeah, like I really like going deeper in things. Believe me, I've been interviewed on a lot of podcasts and some big ones too. where the people were just really superficial. They didn't put any thought into the interview. And like I said, um, like I have this, kind of this where I've kind of planned out the interview in a way that I think would be most interesting. And a lot of it goes into, okay, like I think it would be interesting for people to understand the mindset that goes into somebody who does something like this.
Yeah.
You're like one of the only people who brought that out. Like, I don't think, and everybody else is like, oh yeah, how much money did you make? Okay, cool. And so you do this thing now? Okay. And that's about it. It's just like there's no real like thought behind
But
it.
that's the difference between nosiness and curiosity, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, some people are just, for want of a better word, rubbernecking, and
Yeah.
it's like fine because there's a market for that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm I see the world differently.
Yeah. No, that's great. So yeah, you
Yeah.
had some really insightful questions and everything in there. So that was great. Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you. I did also. I really resisted the urge because I thought it would take a whole other conversation, and I'm like, this won't work. Oh,
Yeah.
here comes the cat. Um,
Uh-oh.
Thank you for staying quiet while we recorded that. Um, Weight loss injections, right?
Yeah.
Because they are really taking off
Yeah.
certainly all around Europe. And
Yeah.
I'm curious as to that in the link with those and exercise and the fact that they just basically burn your muscle quicker
Yeah.
and how that
Yeah, that's right.
interplays with stuff. I was like, oh, I bet there's something here.
It's why they're synergistic with the hormones, right? Because the hormones are going to, especially the testosterone, is going to signal muscle preservation and to switch the energy pathway to burning fat as a primary source of energy. So, and you're absolutely right. So there's a reason why we become obese. Like some of it's lifestyle, but a huge part of it is hormone deficiency. Again, your body will actually preserve fat and burn muscle and your body's own proteins. So there's a reason why you have metabolic disorder when your hormones are at a deficient state. So part of the reason people are obese or overweight is because their hormones are low. So if we just give a GLP-1 to that, then all we're doing is covering up a symptom.
Yeah.
And that's your hunger, right? And some of the
Yeah.
water retention, because you do drop a significant amount of water retention. And your weight will come down, but you're also burning a lot of muscle mass. You're and losing a lot of water. And we haven't fixed the problem. We haven't fixed the root of the problem. As soon as you come off that GLP-1, the weight's just going to go right back on, right? So
Yeah.
we'll use those because I mean, it has been a miracle drug, right? It is reducing metabolic disorder. It's
Yeah. And
reducing
yeah,
diabetes,
as an
reversing
aid,
diabetes.
yeah, as an aid to helping people get to where they need to
Right.
be for lifestyle changes, I think it
Yeah.
makes a lot of
And
sense.
in that sense, it has been, but it is all about using it properly now. So and we use it, but we make sure that we tell people, like, listen, this is how we have to fix the root of the problem. All right. So let's
Mhm.
fix your hormone deficiency. Let's also fix your lifestyle. Here's diets that you should be eating. Don't eat these things, eat these things. And let's use this so we can more quickly get down to your ideal body weight. And then we'll be able to come off and you won't have to be on GLP-1s for the rest of your life because we fixed all the other issues. And
Yeah.
that's an important part and you're right. There's like even your provider, they're just going to go prescribe you Ozempic and that's it. It's like, well,
Honestly, I am well, have been on the weight loss injections, and it was easier for me to get those than it was to get HRT.
oh,
And
yeah,
I recognize that I was a perimenopausal woman. I'm like, I know that I've got fat because of that. Like,
mhm,
I know what the problem is
yeah,
because like all the women around me are in exactly the same boat, and it is
yeah,
harder to shift it. Like, we all know
mhm,
what's going on. Can you just help us with the actual thing that's going on?
yeah. No, if your hormones are deficient, there's almost nothing you can do that is going
Yeah,
to allow you to lose that weight. Your body, your signals, those are your signals to preserve muscle, burn fat. And those
yeah,
signals are gone. So now you're doing the opposite. You're burning muscle, preserving fat.
yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yep. Oh, thank you for adding that in for me. I had to make a note. I was like, I want to ask that, but I know it's a personal curiosity and it's not
yeah,
necessarily like relevant to anyone else. But I was like, I really want to
yeah.
ask you. So yeah, thank you for indulging me. I appreciate it.